next award of the evening goes to a remarkable woman, Dr. Pratima Murthy, for dedicating decades to placing mental health first. Dr. Murthy, there's been a lot of conversation around mental health of late, but do you think we're still largely as a country in denial of the crisis that's actually staring us in the face?
I'll just start off by actually alluding to the conversation you had with Mr. Shibulal. The first thing that went through my mind is, why don't I have a wife?
We all need wives.
Yeah, we all need wives, don't we?
But one is enough.
But I think we all have loving families. Yeah. And I think the larger family that I have is the NIMHANS family, which has been wonderful in terms of doing work in mental health care. So, while we have focused predominantly on severe mental illness, what you said, about mental distress, I think a lot more people have become aware of it post-COVID-19. Yeah. And we know that 1 in 10 people has a diagnosable mental disorder, and for every 1 in 10 people, at least about 10 others have psychological distress. Right. So the whole idea is to reach out, and there's no health without mental health. We also have something called the telemanus now. Anybody anywhere in the country has to just call 14416 and they will get counseling by trained counselors. Okay. So in that sense, it's more available. I
certainly didn't know of.
Yeah, it's more available, accessible, and everybody can get some confidential help. But it's more important about developing good networks around ourselves, informally, as well as reaching out for formal help. There's a huge stigma still around mental health.
And also, I think the idea that it doesn't just affect the individual, it also impacts the family.
Absolutely. It impacts the family, it impacts the workplace. Yeah. And there is also evidence that, there is transgenerational, transmission of trauma. So I think there's a lot that we need to think about.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful that the New Indian Express over the years has been instituting the Devi Awards for women who have excelled in so many different fields. It was very humbling to see the kind of work that is being recognized at this Devi Award, spanning so many different areas, from theatre to sports to science, as well as to people who have been involved in skill, like, for example, artisans and so on. I think this is very important because I think it gives people, particularly women, inspiration to do more for society. For myself, I think it's a recognition of the entire space of mental health where I work. Mental health is very often neglected, stigmatized. People find it very difficult to accept help when it's needed. It's also important to know that help is not always readily available. So I think the focus on mental health is very critical, as also the importance of institution building. I'm the director of NIMHANS, and NIMHANS for the last 70 years has been working in the space of mental health and neurosciences, not just in the hospital, but also in the community. To me, it's also a way not only of telling people how important mental health is, but really a clarion call to people on how to identify psychological distress early, reach out and get help. In the country, we've started something called the telemanus, 14416, where anyone speaking any language anywhere in the country can get help. So this is really very important to spread to all the people. It's also very important to look after our mental health just like we look after our physical health. And therefore, I think this has to be available to everyone, anytime. And I think as a society, we need to look at how we can look after our mental health. In India, we not only focus on standard ways of looking after mental health, but also our own traditional ways, and staying connected, talking about mental health, and supporting one another is a very important thing.